Hello, everyone. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining us on this bright and beautiful Sunday morning. I'm Roshan Karyappa, and I have with me Nirav Kanodra, and we'll be taking you through the week's news and events. We're also waiting for Prasanna Vishwanathan to join us, right? He will join us shortly, but we will get started in the meantime. I hope all of you are great. Hi, Nirav. How are things at your end?
Yeah, hi Roshan, all good. Here the heightened alert has been extended a month, but it's all fine.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Yeah. I mean, this is kind of the festival season, right? I'm sure, I mean, it is there as well. So, yeah. All right. So, as usual, let's talk about a couple of episodes we put out last week. Uh, I think this is the Vishwa week, right? I mean, where we focused a lot on geopolitics. The episode we did with Srimoy Talakdar was really, really comprehensive. We spoke about many different things, including, Prime Minister Modi's visit to the US, his meetings with President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and then, some of the implications it can have on our relations with China, Pakistan, the role of India in Quad, how AUKUS impacts all of this, and so on. I think it was super comprehensive. Srimoy, of course, is the senior editor at First Post, and he writes pretty extensively on this stuff. So yeah, I mean, definitely do check it out if you haven't already. What do you think about the Tracy Shuchat episode, Nirav?
I think it's very topical right now. So I think Tracy Shuchat, I've been following her on Twitter. Her ID is at Kai Girl. But like on energy, see what is happening right now is you're seeing like it's like a butterfly effect where you see some natural gas shortage in Europe, coal shortage in China, a lot of geopolitics is involved. Russia is pushing for its Nord Stream pipeline. China put sanctions on like Australian coal. So there are a lot of moving parts with the transition to clean energy and the higher cost of capital for the old energy kind of companies. That is playing a part in it. The transition to ESG and like intermittent wind and solar, where the battery technology hasn't come up, as well as like the battery materials like lithium. So she covers it in a very nice way, connecting all the different parts and showing us that what we might see this post COVID energy shock might last for a while, but probably it'll rebalance soon. So it's very, very interesting, very, very topical. I would recommend everyone to please spare some time and listen to this episode.
Yeah, definitely. And so we have plenty of news lined up for this weekly. We're going to be talking about India's phenomenal achievement, the 100 crore vaccination mark that we reached. Then the Adani group committing to $70 billion for energy transition, and in light of the India-UK trade deal. Then India wanting compensation for climate changes. This was at the COP26 conference that happened. And Home Minister Amit Shah visiting Kashmir in light of the Poonch gunfight that happened last week, the week before. Then, some of the developing stories in Punjab on the political side of things. And of course, I mean, the T20 World Cup that's underway. So with that, let's get started with the first piece of news. India recently administered our 1 billionth vaccine. India began the world's largest vaccination drive on January 16th, earlier this year. In just 9 months, we have administered 100 crore doses. India has managed to administer twice the number of vaccine doses as the US, which has administered just over 40.7 crore vaccine doses. This is despite our vaccine drive having started almost a month after the US. The pace of vaccinations has increased dramatically since the center took the drive into its own hands after observing that the decentralization policy wasn't yielding results. Nirav, this is a phenomenal achievement. I think in my life, I have not seen anything close to this, right? Where, I mean, famously, we used to always say India lacks state capacity, and we have somehow managed this at perhaps the most trying times.
Yeah, so no, absolutely. And this is something where I take hope that India, if everybody puts their mind to it, it's a great advertisement for state capacity, great advertisement for private-public partnership, where you have the private vaccine manufacturers. It's a great partnership for India-UK partnership with like AstraZeneca. And I think these trends if we take all of these and extrapolate it in every other field, I think it shows how much can India achieve. So it's a fantastic thing. There has also been a great advertisement for safety of vaccines by PM Modi himself took it. And Poonawala or like Dr. Krishna Ella themselves took their own vaccines in public eye, on camera. So I think that was very much fantastic. Also, I think now India also did a sensible thing after the second wave, where tried and pushed as many first doses as possible with a wide gap between the first and second dose, saying that even if it is like 70% effective as two, maybe it's better to get wider community inoculated. So I think it's been a great success story. Now I'm looking forward with Bharat Biotech also being approved for kids from 2 to 18, and like Zydus Cadila also approved for kids from 12 to 18. So hopefully, we were thinking maybe all adults get vaccinated by year end. Maybe in the next 2 months, we see a lot of kids also get vaccinated, back to schools, and we reopen the economy going all blast. So it's just a absolutely fantastic thing.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, I think, a big thank you to all of the healthcare staff, right? The doctors, nurses, all of the administrative staff, right? A big thank you, of course, to Bharat Biotech, Serum Institute, and all of the many different people, right? I mean, because I think even logistically, this is just such a mind-boggling thing, right? I mean, and you mentioned the time duration between the vaccines and so on, right? Simple things like that. I mean, I'm not sure if it was that simple, right? I mean, it kind of seems like all of this was very, very well thought through, right? Yeah. And easily, I mean, it could have gone awry actually, even if one of these had not fallen in place. So what do you think about some of the commentary though, because I think it should have been unanimous praise for India, but you always had the situation where whether it is New York Times or Bloomberg or whoever else would say 100 crore vaccine, and then insert some flimsy reason, right?
So there's the old saying that whenever you say something and then you put the word but and then you go on the sentence, everything before is like kind of negated because you want to make another point. Yeah. And I actually believe is maybe the world is getting hyper polarized. And if you wear red glasses, you see everything red. If you wear green glasses, you see everything green. I think this is a matter. If everybody around us is safer, we are all safer as a society, as a community. It's not only important that you yourself get vaccinated, but for everyone's safety, it's great that if everyone around you is vaccinated as well. So absolutely, could it have been faster? Possibly. Could it have been done a little bit earlier? Possibly. But I think they've done a fantastic job. Let's look at it as glass 90% full instead of 10% empty. And let's move on. I think people have said that, only 2 vaccine makers are there in India versus say 3 in the US. See, we did whatever we could. I think the great delivery job has been done. The government supported Zydus Cadila as well. Unfortunately, they couldn't get their vaccines out in time. We also got contract manufacturers for Sputnik, also J&J and biologically. But whatever we could do, we've done it. In the time of extreme uncertainty, this was good risk management that the government pushed all these vaccine manufacturers and gave them all the support that was needed. Bharat Biotech has another Ankleshwar factory opening up, so capacity should go up further. Hopefully, WHO recognizes the Covaxin vaccine as well. They just took 10 days to approve Sinovac and Sinopharm. And about 110 million or 11 crore doses have been administered by Bharat Biotech. So I think that should be enough data, hopefully. So I think, whichever way it is, apart from political ideology, I think it's a fantastic thing which has been done. You can see it in the number of COVID cases falling. You can see in the amount of people moving about safely. So beyond ideology, I think it's good for everybody's safety, for the whole society. So that's about it.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, in April, we had cases go up 20x a day, right? I mean, something like, 4 lakh cases, whatever I think we reached. And we saw the chaos that had happened. And if that wasn't properly managed, I mean, we wouldn't have a situation like this at all, right? And, in light of Pfizer and Moderna now saying that, they will not, share their mRNA vaccines, right? I mean, becomes all the more important for us that, something like Bharat Biotech happened, right? And Serum Institute happened for us, right? So if really, I mean, if I look at it, right, not to get too spiritual or religious here, but then it's just the hand of God, I would say.
Yeah, actually, but this also shows that we need to be Atmanirbhar in
Exactly.
like ourselves. You are seeing developed country going in for third doses, rich country with the booster doses,
Yeah.
whereas a lot of poor country haven't gotten their first.
Hmm.
So because you had some capability of manufacturing and you had a JV with AstraZeneca, you had a domestic vaccine. I think absolutely like it's in real times of difficulties, your resilience actually tested. And here, I think they've done a great job. So forget like if I think the glass is 95% full, not 5% empty.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. The Adani Group plans to invest $50 to $70 billion towards energy transition. At the UK's Global Investment Summit, Gautam Adani, the chairman, announced that the group will invest the capital in the sector over the next decade. Hydrogen, he said, is a game changer, and the group's green energy portfolio will expand to become one of the world's largest green hydrogen producers. Adani is also incubating the first Indian data center company that will power all this, all its data centers with renewable power by 2030. Neerav, what do you think of this?
Also, I think Adani Group is actually, as a legacy group, it's involved in the old energy sector, like coal-fired power plants, etc. And across globally, all these firms are looking at the energy transition. Adani Group has like wisely focused on green hydrogen. It's one of the many technologies, as in, so this is you have something called as gray hydrogen, which comes out from like petrochemicals. You have blue hydrogen, which is like semi green, and then you have like completely green hydrogen, right, which is coming in not from fossil fuel burning. So I think that's a great transition. UK government has been also at the forefront. They want to move all their domestic heaters from natural gas or compressed natural gas fired to hydrogen fired boilers, right? So this is like, I would say, compare this to like maybe 100 years ago, where every house in Europe had a chimney and a fireplace inside the house, right? From that to like gas fired heaters inside, and now we're going probably to hydrogen. So I think that's a great step. Also, this is putting into the India-UK partnership. UK is actively courting India. We might sign a free trade agreement soon, post-Brexit. So that's also there, where Adani Group will also invest something in the UK, helping them with their transition. And India really needs a lot of energy, by whatever means. Let it be your legacy coal plants, maybe nuclear, solar, wind, green hydrogen. So if India needs to boost its manufacturing, as well as have all these global data centers, we are consuming a lot of data, and all of that is stored somewhere in the cloud. So that takes energy. And so it's a fantastic thing. This is good capex. This is good publicity for India as well. And we will be on the cutting edge of the newer technologies. So it's a great positive step.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Prasanna, thank you so much for joining us. Good to have you.
Yeah, apologies, Roshan. Actually, I had some technical as well as traffic issues. Okay, sorry about it.
No worries, no worries.
I was on the audio mode. Yeah, I think as Neerav summarized, right, we have I think Adani's strategy on green energy has been like quite aggressive, and hopefully, I think they'll be able to execute the plans. So it's a very interesting space, and again, it could even shape up as a Ambani versus Adani fight as well, actually. So that is something that all of us would be watching. And I think even there were a lot of interesting moves from the Ambani side as well, right? In the last week, as far as the green energy initiative goes, they kind of acquired a Chinese company, which is huge, which has a huge footprint in Europe, actually, in the solar photovoltaic cell space, actually. So, I think this is going to be a very, very interesting battle. Let's see how this shapes up.
Yeah. So the Union Minister, Amit Shah is visiting Jammu and Kashmir. Shri Amit Shah landed in Kashmir on Saturday morning for a 3-day visit, the first since the abrogation of Article 370. Shri Amit Shah's visit comes amidst heightened tension in J&K following the targeted killing of 11 civilians. Elsewhere in Kashmir, the Poonch counter-terror operation has entered its 13th day. In the Narkhas forest area, security forces have been working to nab terrorist organizations hiding in the forest for the last 2 weeks. The Jammu and Kashmir police said the terrorists were believed to be hiding in the jungle since August this year. So, Prasanna, I mean, what is the significance of this visit beyond just the fact that, there's this insurgency that's happened?
Yeah, I think this visit has to be only seen in the background of the recent deterioration in the situation. In Jammu Kashmir, you had both border incidents as well as civilians being targeted. So I think it's a critical signaling by the Home Minister that the government is on the top and of the issue there, because Home Ministry has been facing criticism on what's been happening in Kashmir, right? Actually, so it was very critical that Amit Shah needs to assert his authority and also be seen as asserting his authority. So I think in that, and also there is an element of a healing touch in the visit. He's been meeting the family of those victims, both from the law and order side as well as the civilian side. So hopefully, of course, these visits are critical from an optics perspective, but also I think the Indian state per se needs to kind of have a sustained strategy in Kashmir to overcome the recent set of setbacks that we have faced in the state, actually. So I think, and most critically, the killing of civilians, especially migrant labor, who were very critical to the execution of infrastructure projects, and I think they provide, they do the thankless job of building roads and power projects and tunnels, and they work on all projects. So it's very critical that the government ensures the sense of safety for the migrants, and hopefully, things improve from here.
Right. Actually, with the Taliban coming to power in Afghanistan, I thought this situation on our border will actually ease up, right? I mean, seems like that, hasn't happened, at least for the time being.
Correct. I think there is this critical, there's this time window where there is a convergence of geopolitical interest between some of, China, Taliban, Pakistan. So I would see that there will be a escalation, a coordinated escalation that is aimed at, kind of making it tough for India geopolitically. See, I think the government's focus last year or so has been essentially on fighting the pandemic, plus, the series of economic reforms measures, managing the political fallout of some of these reforms, especially, the farm reforms and all that. So I think the government has got its economic act right, but I think in the process there might have been, this newer security challenges that have emerged, which possibly was not there like in the last year. So, let's see how this shapes up.
Right. Moving on. India declared it wants compensation for climate damage caused by rich nations at the COP26 Climate Change Conference. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change laid out India's position on critical issues to be negotiated at the United Nations COP26 Climate Summit. Leaders and diplomats from across the globe are set to gather in Glasgow, Scotland for the annual COP Summit, which is seen as a make or break meeting to stave off the worsening effects of climate change. Compensation for climate disasters is expected to be a major sticking point at the talks, and the subject is something that India has already raised with the United States climate envoy, Mr. John Kerry. Nirav, what do you think? What do you think about the statement that was pretty bold, right? And I think it's a firm stance.
No, so if you look at like whatever climate change has occurred so far in the 20th century, bulk of the emissions have been from richer nations, right? So if you look at just the total amount of CO2 which is increased in the atmosphere, so any climate change actually happening right now is due to the mistakes which have been done, say like over 20 years ago. Whereas like everybody pays the price for it. Now, developed countries want to decarbonize, but they don't want the developing countries to use more energy. So that is a bit unfair. And they've been like very critical of India building any sort of new power plants or like copper smelters, etc. So what India, and India is being a leader for a lot of the other lesser developed nations, say that whenever there is a climate change induced disaster, so for example, like a landslide in Uttarakhand which had happened, or like uh, uh, higher floods due to global warming, etc. Some amount of money we set aside to help developing countries combat the effects of climate change, which was actually induced prior to due to rich countries polluting the environment, right? Even on a per capita basis, right now they're polluting more compared to developing nations like India. So I think this is one strong stance. I think it's also like probably it's a bargaining chip where you go ahead and ask for compensation for any sort of climate disasters, which kind of, if they water down, they at least allow countries like India to build more power plants and have utilize more energy. And like the developed world conserves energy because they're already consuming a lot of energy per capita basis. So let other countries like India catch up. So I think these are all bargaining chips. Let's see what comes out of it. This conference of parties, or COP as it's called, a lot of things get discussed here, but the actual change on ground is a little bit slower. And there is a lot of standoffs where sometimes nothing gets done. So fingers crossed, something really gets done. I think the Gautam Adani meeting, Boris Johnson, and committing to invest in green energy is also part of this earlier. So let's see what happens. But I don't think like actually we'll achieve that, but it is probably a bargaining chip to let other things happen.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you, right? As in, sustainability is a noble goal, perhaps the noblest goal at this point of time, right? From a climate world perspective, but we should pursue that independently, right, and not be beholden to any of these global treaties which may have other motives as well, right? And I always believe that innovation is the answer, right? I don't think the world is going to consume less, right? Just because the developed world has reached a point where they are fine, right? Actually, I mean, even they are not reducing anything on that front, right? So given whatever the energy crisis and everything, I am pretty sure that they will ramp up, energy on the conventional energy to meet their needs anyway, right? So yeah.
Roshan, actually, I think this you bring in this interesting perspective. Actually, the greenification of energy is not really turned out the way it was promised, right? Like, I mean, 2021 looks very, very different from what 2020 was as far as the energy scenario goes, right? We had a energy excess, and countries looking at very ambitious programs to move to renewable. But 2021 has been a very I would call it as administered a reality check that this kind of very ham-handed, very high on rhetoric but kind of low on substance kind of energy transitions plan have not played out the way that the countries have spoken of, actually. So India is doing well to do that, and I don't know. I think this entire transition phase from where you're moving to the so-called fossil fuels to green energy, I think that transition is going to be so critical, is what 2021 has demonstrated. And hopefully, of course, we need to look at futuristic goals, but I think this entire much more critical issues in terms of managing this transition. Like, so basically, everybody is looking at gasification of energy as the transition before renewables kind of pick full steam and do that. But there have been so many issues, and hopefully we hear a lot about how this transition will be shaped. I think that becomes a very critical issue in light of 2021 experience.
Yeah. No, I think there's quite a stretch before we actually become fully reliant on renewables, right? I mean, so yeah. Do check out the episode we did with Shri Jayan Sinha on net zero emissions. It's a very nice, comprehensive episode on this. All right, moving on. In some political news, Captain Amarinder Singh's Pakistani friend has been caught in political crossfire. Arusa Alam, a Pakistani defense journalist and close friend of Captain Amarinder Singh, has come into the spotlight after Deputy Chief Minister Sukhjinder Singh Randhawa raised a request for a DGP probe. This comes after Captain Amarinder stated that there was a threat to Punjab and the country through ISI, prompting investigation into the journalist. Captain Amarinder Singh fired back at Mr. Randhawa, asking him to focus on maintaining law and order in the state during the festive season. Prasanna, what do you make of this? Is this like petty politics, or it seems
honestly,
to be,
it's a race to the bottom. I think Congress is really scraping at the bottom of the barrel here in Punjab. He's been a 3-time chief minister from your own party. At least I think 15 years, almost close to 15 years in 3 different tenures as the
Right.
CM, the face of your party in Punjab. And then suddenly, he rebels, and then you bring in all these vicious allegations, doesn't, especially, if it is actually from the deputy chief minister, which makes it even more surprising. So, it's like just the typical, Indian politics playing out. And see, of course, that the lady in question, I think she's the daughter of a very shady, shadowy, character who's connected to the Pakistan military establishment and deep state. But this has been public knowledge for at least like 2.5 decades now, right? And when even Congress governments have ruled, she's, I think, travels and cohabits with the former chief minister. So this is all known to, if at all it has raised alarms, it was known to probably Indian intelligence agencies, law and order enforcement mechanism and all. So honestly, I don't know, I think this represents the nadir of political discourse, especially coming from Congress party itself, I would say.
Yeah. No, it's just been crazy to see this implosion in Punjab, actually. So we did an episode quite recently on Punjab politics with Rohit Jayaraman, and we discussed about the fact that Punjab is a border state and the implication it could have on national security and things to that effect. So now you're having a situation where you don't know what is what, right?
Correct.
So yeah. All right, and finally, to wind things up, we have the T20 World Cup underway right now. Coincidentally, we have an India versus Pakistan match today, the first one in a long time. The tournament is being played in Dubai. India currently holds an unbeaten record against Pakistan in the World Cup, winning all 12 encounters to date. All eyes are on the team as they look to continue the unbeaten streak. Nirav, we haven't had this India-Pakistan rivalry for a while, right? It's shifted to India, Australia, and if you're looking at border countries, it could even be India, Bangladesh at this point of time, right? But this revives some of the 90s memories.
Yeah. So I think if you look at it, right, because of the whole situation in Pakistan, there have not been many matches there. The Pakistan national team actually plays in the UAE. India has stopped playing Pakistan in any bilateral series. And if you look at it, the big 3 in world cricket right now, India, Australia, and England. And those rivalries are taken more seriously. Even in the Asia Cups, what has happened is you've got Bangladesh and Afghanistan performing very well. And the previous Asian nations like Sri Lanka, Pakistan haven't been doing that well. But all that aside, I think in T20, anyone can win on the day. Pakistani team has been very upset with New Zealand cancelling a tour which was supposed to be held in Pakistan. It was cancelled due to security concerns after US pull out of Afghanistan. So I think there is a lot of anger amongst fans. Some of them have said that it's an Indian conspiracy theory to have a series and get it cancelled. So I think the ex-Pakistani cricketer Shoaib Akhtar on YouTube has said that doesn't matter if Pakistan doesn't win any games beyond just beating India and New Zealand. Doesn't matter who wins the World T20. They just want to win these two games. So that makes it a little more interesting. Realistically, I think Indian team is very strong. And but like the Pakistani team can spring surprises. T20 format is also such where you could be like a very low ranked team and beat the table topper on that day. So that makes it interesting. I'm definitely going to watch it. The whole tournament is interesting, which is also another thing was you had the qualifiers. And surprisingly, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh had to go through the qualifiers to play in the main draw. And that's quite a big fall. And we have Scotland and Namibia joining as well in the World Cup. Sad thing is the giant killers from like 20 years ago, the other African nations, Zimbabwe and Kenya are nowhere to be seen. It's good. Namibia has got a couple of like ex-South African cricketers. This World Cup also was a little interesting. You've had few ex-South African cricketers playing for Ireland. That was, I think, Colin Ackerman, and for Netherlands. So made it interesting. The qualifiers was fun. Now we've started with the main show. I hope India wins it, not just game today, but the whole tournament. But it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. What is your favorite India-Pakistan Cricket World Cup memories?
The simplest favorite one is 1996 in Bangalore. Venkatesh Prasad getting Amir Sohail out. I think like nothing beats that.
Nothing compares. Yeah.
No, I think
second
I'm
one is
older than
Misbah.
Little older than Neerav. So I think the 92 one is very memorable for me, Roshan.
Right.
I think that was in Australia. Okay, and I mean, in fact, Pakistan eventually went on to win that World Cup, but I think India comprehensively defeated them in the round robin league. It was quite a nice match, actually. I think it was in Sydney. Probably.
I remember that game as well. But the favorite one is still 96.
Yeah, 96 okay. And even Jadeja belting Waqar Younis as well. Yes. Fantastic memories. All right, folks, that's it from this weekly. Thank you so much for joining us from Prasanna, Neerav, and myself. See you next time. Do take care, stay safe, and enjoy your day and your week.